Welcome back to Sports Cards and a Cup of Joe. This is your host, Joe Davis, and I'm excited to be back with you. My voice is still recovering, as you might be able to hear, but shout out to Taylor and Perry for handling my last episode with their perspectives on the National. And today I'm going to give you my big picture perspectives on it. It'll be our last episode focused solely on the 2025 National, but I wanted to give you my thoughts now that it's over, now that I'm back home, tired, exhausted, weary, worn out, but so much to be thankful for. This episode is sponsored by the consignment team at Got Baseball Cards. If you need help, maybe you bought a lot of stuff at the National, maybe you didn't get to go and you have a lot of stuff that you need sold, and our consignment team is eager and ready to help you get your cards sold as well. So, some of my big picture takeaways from the National, and I'm going to do this in chronological order. On Monday, I flew in and two of our team members drove in, and the National Committee, I can tell you, did a phenomenal job for us moving in because it was very easy. We basically were able to pull in, hand card our stuff across the room, drop it at our booth, and then we started the actual setup on Tuesday while many other dealers were moving in. We'd already brought our stuff in, so that made our setup much easier on Tuesday, and we knew that the National had the makings of a great sales event when we did a large number of dealer-to-dealer sales on Tuesday, long before the public even came in the room, as it was not open to the public until Wednesday at 3 p.m. But we were set up by end of day Tuesday. Then we did some final touches on Wednesday, getting the booth ready to get it looking good. And Wednesday was like a tidal wave hitting us of the VIPs and those coming in first day, and sales were really good. Thursday sales were fantastic. Friday sales were fantastic. It just went on and on. I told Jane, my wife, I said it was like every day it was like hopping on a roller coaster and you don't get off until 10 hours later. It just went and there was rarely any time to catch your breath. In fact, the entire week felt like one long day, especially once it opened to the public, because each morning as our team would come in, and we would typically have between 10 to 13 team members there each day, and we had very little time. When you have 600 square feet and you've had to lock everything up into eight zipper bags for security overnight and lock things up in a safe and so forth, it's a lot of work to reset everything. And then the National Committee, they decided, the organizers would announce, hey guys, we've got a huge line out here, so we're going to go ahead and open the doors early. So, great for those coming in the room, not so great for those of us who were only halfway set up. So we're like, do what? We're still trying to get everything safe and protected and organized, and I'm very picky, as you can ask my team. I like things done a certain way. I like what we present to the public to look clean, organized, orderly in every way, and so we would do our best every day to reset everything, and it was hard with a very short window each morning to reset the booth, but because once the selling started, we just could not, there was very little time to reset. We were constantly I'd walk over to a showcase and I was like, hey guys, we got 5 holes in this showcase, replenish it with more inventory, because so much was selling And I think we had 24 showcases, if I remember correctly. And we were constantly selling out of items in certain showcases. And we had plenty of additional inventory. So there's many items we never even got put out the whole week, but we brought plenty in hopes that we would sell through so much that more and more would get put out. But I would love to say, here's the particular thing that was hot and tell you this is what you need to be buying because it's what everyone's interested in. But there was such a wide variety. I think I mentioned 2 episodes back when I was sharing in the middle of the National that vintage sales were incredibly strong. Vintage wax, meaning 80s and 90s stuff, early 2000s wax. We didn't have a lot, but what we brought, we sold a lot of. We had several boxes of Kobe Bryant rookie year wax of 96 Collector's Choice. We sold all of those. We had several boxes of 2012 Marquee Basketball, which is Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis rookie year, among others. We sold all of those. So older boxes were very popular. I know one particular Whatnot breaker bought a number of boxes from us that he wanted to open on his live stream. Jordan cards were very in demand. LeBron cards very in demand. We sold a lot of basketball. It was really that was the strongest I had seen basketball sales in a long time, especially on graded cards. Buying across the room, there were many buyers, many who their entire booth or most of their booth was focused on buying, and many were paying very strong percentages. And I could tell that because when we were offered items, many of those selling wanted a very, very strong percentage. And I think that was based upon the fact that there were very strong offers in the room. One of the funniest things that I've never seen happen at a National, and this is a huge indicator of the strength of the hobby. There were so many in the room spending so much money buying from the public that many of those running the buying booths were literally running out of cash. And I had a friend, and I won't share but I had a friend ask could he borrow large sums of cash because he was running out and he wanted to continue buying. And that was not the only instance of that going on in the room, as I heard many stories from buyers across the room who were trying to get their buddies to let them borrow money for 2 days or 3 days or whenever they got back to their respective locations. And there were literally dealers in the room. I heard stories of one dealer charging 3% interest, another dealer charging 5% interest, literally to let their friends borrow money for like 2 days. So that's how much demand, or I guess that's how scarce cash was becoming in the room, because so many dealers were actively buying so many cards. And to me, what a fantastic indicator of the state of the hobby that dealers on my side of the table were spending so much money buying inventory at strong percentages that some were literally running out of cash at the show to buy with. That's a fantastic sign. It's one thing to leave a National and to talk to many of my peers, and they say, we had a great show, we sold a lot of stuff. And if you hear that over and over across the room, you're encouraged that, well, that's a good sign. So many dealers sold a lot of inventory. That's a good sign for the hobby. What's an even better sign is that those same dealers who are selling a lot are reinvesting back into the hobby, putting dollars back into the hands of collectors and smaller dealers, which those dollars get recycled over and over in the hobby, meaning a dealer sells a lot, he takes that money, reinvests it into inventory, then that collector who has sold those items, he has money to go, maybe he's buying new boxes to open, or he's buying from someone when he gets back home. But the bottom line is, when I hear of many, many professionals, full-time dealers, spending large sums of money buying collections, buying individual cards, whatever it might be, I am so encouraged, because that means the leaders in the hobby, other peers of mine who are busy, who are active in this every single day, they believe in the hobby so much that they are reinvesting at very strong percentages relative to full market. That means they believe the inventory they're buying, they're going to be able to resell at a small markup. So that was so encouraging to me to hear those stories, that so much money was being spent buying back from collectors at the show that dealers were literally running out of funds, at least what they had on hand. That's an incredibly strong sign for our industry. The crowds, as I said, very strong sign. Over 20% increase year over year. Now, granted, Chicago in general is a better venue than Cleveland is, but the fact that we saw over 20% growth in 1 year, that's a huge step forward for the industry. And congrats to the National Committee. Congrats to all of those in leadership for the National, because they had us back in Rosemont, but this time the air worked. Huge difference. This time the Wi-Fi worked at least most of the time. Huge difference from 2 years ago. You could actually make phone calls across the room. Wasn't always the case 2 years ago. So many improvements had taken place in that facility. And despite the crowds, the security did a wonderful job. They did a great job getting collectors into the room. You didn't hear of collectors standing outside for hours just to get in. It was very streamlined from everything I was told. And so I, as friends of many of those who work in leadership roles and the promoters, I am very proud of each of them and the incredible job they did to make it such a great experience, both for the dealers, for the attendees, for the corporate sponsors, for the press, and there was plenty of all of that. It was just a great experience. Now, one of the things we were most excited about is, as I shared just a few episodes ago, the launch of our new brand, CartoonCardz.com, with a Z, CartoonCardz.com. We had one single table devoted specifically to those trading cards, to vintage Disney cards and Peanuts, Snoopy, Charlie Brown, and other cartoon-related characters and their trading cards. The demand was so good, and I was blown away. I told Jane, I said, I'm not crazy, baby. This dream I've had, this vision I've had for this new brand that we've worked on so hard for so many months, I could see it in the eyes of so many collectors, and that was so rewarding to me. And it was great seeing collectors wearing our new T-shirts and getting our magazine, and it was just very rewarding. But as far as the sports card sales, we sold a number of high-grade vintage cards, some highest sales ever recorded for those particular cards, at least based upon all of the data we have at our fingertips to research what some had sold at. We had some very high-grade Aaron rookies and We had a Clemente rookie that almost sold, and we still have it, but sold a lot of big vintage cards at very good numbers, and collectors were very happy with their purchases because they were very high quality cards within the grade that they were graded at. As I've already shared, that our vintage bargain boxes did very well. Our vintage this is the first time we'd ever been to a national where we brought a large quantity of modern bargain boxes with cards priced from $2 to $15. And we took up about 12 feet of table space with those cards, and it often took multiple team members to wait on all of the collectors who were shopping out of those. As at any given time, sometimes I would count, and sometimes we would have 30 to 40 potential customers around the table, shopping, browsing, buying, selling, you name it. And grading, as Taylor and Perry mentioned in the last episode, I believe we actually took in over 100 submissions, and some were like 100 cards, and some were one card, but we took a lot of large submissions in. A number of collectors took advantage of our overnight screening service. One collector came by. He had dropped off one card for our overnight screening service. Doug reviewed the card, said he didn't find any flaws with it, told him he thought it had a good shot at a 10. That collector then turned it in at PSA, and he got a PSA 10, and he brought it back to show me because he was so happy that he had invested the small amount of money to have it screened to have certainty that it would grade well. So we were very happy for him. The one area that I felt that I didn't do a good job at was buying, and part of that was I couldn't get out of the booth very often. I did buy a complete 1966 Donruss Marvel complete set, which I've always wanted one, and now I have one, and I'll be grading a number of cards out of that, so that was exciting. And I also purchased, for my new brand, I purchased several Disney and Flintstones cards from the 60s. I was happy to make that purchase. I did buy a handful of nice graded cards from a longtime client who came by with a Zion case full of cards, and we picked out some of our favorites that we bought at around 70% of market. And so there was a lot of opportunities there. There were many things we were offered that just didn't work for us. It was like nothing wrong with the cards, but just not ones that we really have collectors interested in, certain ball players that are just not trending right now for us at our shop in Loganville. And so we tried to focus on things that we knew we needed for inventory, whereas some others were just buying large quantities at a straight percentage, whatever that percentage was for them. And kudos to them, those who can do that and be able to turn that inventory quickly. So that's one area that I wish I had been able to take advantage of more by being able to spend more time focused on buying. And usually the best opportunities, of course, are on Tuesday and Wednesday. And as much inventory as we brought and as large as our booth was, it was very hard to abandon the team and say, hey, I'm just going to go shop for the next few hours, especially on those first couple of days when we were trying to get everything ready and organized and making sure we had everything priced, because we try to make it really easy for those shopping with us. So overall, I could not be prouder of my team. We had a fantastic week together, as stressful as it was. We we exceeded every goal we had. Every expectation was fulfilled. And as I said, the only area I felt like we didn't hit our target was being successful in buying. in past years, we've been able to buy a lot more. And part of that, I think, is the strength of the hobby, that there are so many buying now that it's a competitive market to get a shot to buy things. And, of course, many of the dealers who've been in the hobby for even longer than me, at least their company has been, many of those are at the very front entrance, and as collectors walk in, often they get the first shot at buying, and I get it and understand that. But we were happy with what we purchased. We just would have liked to have gone back with less money in hand, meaning that we had been able to buy more. But I'm going to turn the corner a little bit and give you a sneak peek of some things to come. As soon as I got back from the National, I had multiple appointments to look at collections. And today, on Thursday, as I record this, which you'll be hearing it on Friday, but on Thursday, I was able to purchase about 9,000 singles primarily from the 60s and 70s, all in order, well organized, and in pretty high grade. And this client came in, and we helped him pull out all of his best cards to grade. We did that first, and he submitted, if I remember now, it was 64 cards to grade, including about a dozen Mickey Mantles from the 60s, multiple Johnny Bench rookies, Nolan Ryan rookie, Reggie Jackson rookie, many other, Thurman Munson, many other iconic key rookie cards from the 60s and 70s. And then we bought the, quote, leftovers, which was his well-organized collection of commons, minor stars, and some major stars, just not necessarily in high grade. But I'm excited to go through that entire collection, pull out the other major stars and get those priced. And then only 2 hours after he left our shop, we had a collector come in with an unbelievable amount of turkey red baseball cards from around 1910. And if you've never seen these, they're some of the most beautiful, historic vintage baseball cards you will ever see. They're huge in size. I don't remember the exact size, but they're about 7x9 approximately. I know I use sleeves that'll hold up to 7x9 cards, so a little bit less than that, but very large cards. But he had 52 of them. I think the most I'd ever seen at one time when I wasn't at a show was when a customer brought in about 5 of them to grade. But he had Ty Cobb, Cy Young, Tinkers, Evers, and Chance. If you remember the old triple play, double play combination, Tinkers to Evers to Chance. He had all 3 of them. He had Addie Haas, Wee Willie Keeler, Napoleon Lajoie. So many historic names from the early days of baseball. And I was very happy with the way this transaction went down because the gentleman wanted to sell them. And I asked him, I said, how long have you had these? And he said he had tried to sell them about 15 to 20 years ago. And he said he didn't know the exact value, but knew, they were in the thousands, and said that multiple shops at that time, I didn't ask him who, those shops may not even be in business anymore, but he said multiple shops had tried to take advantage of him, telling him they were only worth a couple of $100s, but they'd be happy to help him out by buying them. So I hate to hear those stories. I told him, we discussed different options. Ultimately, I gave him a very large down payment and told him what we were going to do to help him maximize his return was that we were going to grade every card worthy of grading. And then for each of the cards that were not worthy of grading, we would sell them in their raw condition on eBay. And then on the back end, of course, we would deduct the grading fees and our commission on the back end, so that he got a large amount of money up front, and we would be working with him to try to get him the most out of each card, rather than just giving him a lump sum for everything. So when he does well, we do well. And so I think he is going to be very pleased, because I've run some estimates on a lot of these cards, and I think he's going to be very pleased on the back end when we see those sales results. So we will be sending those cards off, some to PSA, some to SGC, in the next couple of days, and I can't wait to have those back in hand to see what numbers, what sales we can generate for him and his family. So that was exciting, and I already have 3 more large vintage collections lined up, clients who need assistance. I'll be meeting with one tomorrow, one the next day, and then another member of our team will be handling one the following week. So we have so many opportunities, and as one of my team members, Jim Hodges, always reminded me, he always says, "Joe, it's a great day. Joe, it's a good day." And it's always a good day when you get an opportunity to help others. And so it's always satisfying and rewarding to me when someone comes in with a stack of cardboard in his hand, literally, and we can help him and set him up for financial gain by providing the education, by providing the expertise, by getting the cards graded with the right companies to maximize the resale value. So that's always very rewarding to me, and I'm very thankful that we're in a position to be able to help clients in those situations. And you might be in the same kind of situation. You know you have a great collection, or maybe you've inherited one, or you know someone who has one, and you need assistance, or they need assistance. And whatever the case may be, we are happy to help you as well. So as I begin to wrap up this episode, now that we have worked, my team has worked for months prepping for the National. We've completed it. We now have other opportunities in front of us within our retail store and opportunities online. I, as a business owner, I sit back and say, where do we go from here? My promise to my wife was that I promise not to try to create a new brand or new website or launch anything else new in the business for a couple of weeks, to just catch my breath, to refocus, to clean up, organize. Because when you take that much inventory, when you take about 3,000 pounds of inventory to a show and then you unload them, you've got a lot of work to do to put things back in place. And so that's what we're in the process of, and we will continue to be in the process of next week. So we're going to get our bearings, we're going to get things back in place where they belong, and then we're going to be adding a lot of inventory back to eBay, both the Got Baseball Cards eBay account and the Cartoon Cardz eBay account, because we brought back a lot of sports cards inventory that has not sold, and we brought back a lot of Cartoon Cardz inventory that has not sold. And we have literally just launched right at 250 graded cards on cartooncardz.com. So if you haven't checked out the site yet, now's an opportunity to see some of the type of inventory that we sold so much of at the National. I even had one shop who bought a lot of Peanuts related graded cards, said he plans to put them in his store and expects to need more. And so we hope that he will, and glad we were able to help him with the ones that he purchased. But if you go on cartooncardz.com, again, that's cartooncardz with a Z.com, we have several hundred graded cards already available for sale on there, as well as many vintage packs, boxes, and sets. So we will be continuing to add more inventory on gotbaseballcards.com, on cartooncardz.com, and on each of our eBay stores. as well as in our retail store. So we are blessed with multiple platforms through which we can sell inventory, and wherever you shop with us, if you shop with us, I hope you'll check out one or more of those venues, whether it's in person or online. And again, as I shared earlier, if we can help you with your collections, please let us know. Now, I don't know what my next episode will be on, but I can tell you I got a lot of new ideas at the National. I got new ideas for merchandising. I got new ideas for buying. I got new ideas for selling, and new ideas from grading, and all these different areas in the industry that I always try to just be a sponge at these events. And the little bit I got to walk around the room, I tried to soak in ideas and learn from others. And so I'll have a lot of things to share. And again, I'll be sharing more about our new brand in future episodes as well. But I just want to thank each of you for listening. Thank you for sticking around. I know there's a lot of great podcasts, and it was so great to meet so many of you. And as I told some of my team members, it means so much to me, those of you that came by the booth and said that something I had shared meant something to you, or had helped you in some way, or had encouraged you, or motivated you, or whatever the terms were that each of you used. That was so encouraging to me. And I said, well, I guess I've got to keep running my big mouth and keep putting these episodes out, because if it's helping a handful of you, then it's worth every bit of my time to do this. So again, hopefully I will vocally be a little stronger next time. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you to those of us who came out to support us at the show. Remember today that Jesus loves you so much. And I think each and every one of you, I believe you are so awesome. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.